Dr. Shannon Shea from Learn ABA with Dr. Shea, and I'm here with your Tuesday tip of the week. This week we are talking about how to write objectives as a behavior analyst, and we are not talking about the stuff you should learn in grad school, like making them measurable and including topography and stuff like that. It's the other stuff that no one taught me and I had to figure out as a practitioner, and that I saw my staff struggle with when I was clinical director. So the first one is do the actual math pragmatically. If you give someone data sheets and the data sheet says a person has to complete 85% of their trials correctly for 2 consecutive weeks before you fade prompt level or whatever, and say the criteria that you're doing those programs are run 5 days a week. So if it's 4 out of 5, that's 80%. So that wouldn't meet criteria if you set it at 85%. However, 5 out of 5 is 100%. You can leave it that way if you're okay with the person not meeting criteria until they do it literally perfectly. If that's not what you want, make sure you do the actual math and make sure it's going to work out and land where you expected it would before you deploy it and train it and everything, because I made that mistake the first few times. So hopefully that saves you some trouble. The second one is whether you decide if someone performs to whatever criteria on the first trial. This is for acquisition programs, first trial, consecutive versus cumulative trials. So I want someone to demonstrate the first step in a task analysis correctly 100% of the time for 20 consecutive trials if this task analysis is how to cross the street safely, right? And the first step is make sure there's no cars coming, right? Like look both ways before you walk into the street. I mostly care that they do that step the correct way the first time. And the other steps are less do or die, literally, right? So it's how you write the criteria. Just think about what's important. Do not copy and paste it. Do not use these cookbooks. They're everywhere. They're easier. But there's this thing where if you read it and it's already written, it sounds good, and you lose stuff where you're doing real analysis as a behavior analyst when you're writing it yourself. And you go through the steps yourself, right? I'm tempted to be lazy sometimes too. It happens to the best of us. It just really doesn't work out as well. So think about what are they learning? Is it life or death? Is it important that they do the first step correctly and the rest of the steps don't matter so much? Because then I don't care if they do 85% of the task analysis correctly for 100 consecutive days. If they never get step 1 correct, it's the only step that matters, right? So just think about things like that, especially with things people are learning for safety goals. Same with cumulative or consecutive. Like how fluent does the person need to be in this reasonably? I still need to look at a recipe when I make a bread all the time. I make bread once a week. I just always forget, is it a 3/4 cup or 1/4 cup, whatever, right? I don't need to be 100% fluent. I need to be 100% fluent in turning off the oven when I'm done and using oven mitts to take things in and out of the oven, right? Making the recipe, I don't know, that criteria of me doing it perfectly or not could be like 70%, 80%. If I need help later, I can get the recipe again. It's not the end of the world. Think realistically about how many mistakes people when doing these things, and if it's a problem to make a mistake or if it's like a non-issue. So that's how I determine the degree of fluency that I want to train up, because we don't always have time and resources to train everything to perfect fluency. So you do want to triage to an extent. Last one, because I've had this happen a bunch of times when I was clinical director and people would say, oh, can I change this criteria? It already says this in the behavior plan, but they're not going to be able to meet it. And I don't know what to do. If you wrote it, you made it up the first time, you can change it. Like, it's your behavior plan that you wrote. So if a client, student, whoever is not meeting the criteria that you wrote and made, of course you can modify it, change it, make the criteria what you think it ought to be. If the problem is the criteria, you might have set it too high or whatever, and not the stimuli, reinforcers, whatever. Let me know if I missed anything, if I got any of these wrong. I hope these are helpful to you guys. I'm going to start putting them on reels and the full versions on YouTube, because the longer videos, we're not making it to you in the group. And leave a comment below to let me know what you want to hear about next week. If you want advice on being a practicing behavior analyst or a complicated topic explained or anything like that. And don't forget to check out the Rad is Right or just radisright.com, my CEU site. We have interesting trainings that don't exist many other places, or if they do, I have a unique take on them because I have a background in mental health. That's all. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.